So you're thinking about moving to Blaine, Washington. Well, whether it's the waterfront beauty, the small town charm, or the phenomenal proximity to Canada, Blaine definitely has a lot to offer, but is it the right spot for you? In this video, we're going to break down everything about life in Blaine, and we're going to get started right now. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about why Blaine. Why are people considering a move to this area? Now, I alluded to these in the intro, but the big reasons I think that people are considering to Blaine oftentimes are the small town charm, the proximity to Canada, and the natural and stunning beauty of this area. Specific to small town charm, Blaine is a relatively small community, population of less than 6,000 full-time residents. Compare that to about 90,000 population in Bellingham. And so it is a small community, a tight-knit community, a friendly community that is very reflective of the best of the Pacific Northwest, but in a much more laid-back setting. In terms of proximity to Canada, if you're researching Blaine, you of course already know that Blaine is located on the Canadian border. You have the Peace Arch crossing and the Pacific Highway crossing, otherwise known as the truck crossing. Both of these lead you directly into Canada. Now this is the travel times going from Blaine up to Vancouver. If you don't have a long wait at the border there, it can be as little as like 45 minutes. So proximity to Canada is phenomenal, and encourage people, when you're thinking about relocating to this area, and travel to Canada on a regular basis is an important piece of the puzzle for you. Encourage you to secure your Nexus Pass to help expedite your travel times across the border. Nexus Pass is very similar if you're familiar with TSA PreCheck. When you're traveling by plane, it helps you to expedite that process, shorter lines, and just makes that travel back and forth easier. You've got phenomenal bay views, mountain views, specifically of Mount Baker. You've got a great trail system, sidewalk system all throughout Blaine, whether it's town, whether it's Semiahmoo, whether it's Birch Bay, and we're going to get into talking about all of those different areas in another section of the video. But Blaine has a lot of great stuff to offer in a very laid-back, comfortable, community-focused atmosphere. All right, so as I've just alluded to, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about these three very unique and distinct segments of Blaine, starting number one with what I would call core Blaine and the downtown area. Now, this is the historic heart of Blaine. It blends small town charm with waterfront appeal, and the area offers walkable streets, local shops, and phenomenal views of Drayton Harbor. Some of the key attributes of this area is that it's got immediate proximity to Peace Arch Park, which is a phenomenal park and garden that you can access actually without technically crossing the border. So people from Canada can come into Peace Arch Park. People from the States can go into Peace Arch Park. This was actually a phenomenally important area back during COVID when the border was closed for non-essential travel. This was, in some cases, the only opportunity that families had to meet and connect with one another here in this public space. So Peace Arch Park, very important. You've also got immediate access to the Blaine Marina. Now this is, of course, a hub of commerce for people who operate in the seafood industry, people who operate marine and boating tours out of the area. It's also a phenomenal resource for people who just have boats there for recreational purposes. There's a great park down near the Blaine Marina that we sometimes take our kids to. You've got beautiful views looking out across the Boundary Bay, looking immediately at White Rock, British Columbia, just there across the way. You've also got a great mix of restaurants that are here in this area. A couple of my favorites are Drayton Harbor Oysters. As the name would indicate, the oyster farm itself is in Drayton Harbor, which again is that body of water between the core downtown Blaine area and the Semiahmoo area, and then their bar and restaurant is right there in Blaine looking out over the water. Another favorite is the Vault Wine Bar. Great food, oftentimes live music. So there's a variety of options for you for dining there in the immediate area. Now, the primary architectural style in this area is going to be that of, classic homes, going back even in some cases to the early 1900s when this area was being developed. It's going to be a mix of smaller single-family homes, and then as you move towards the water, there's going to be a host of condos and townhomes as well. Some of the properties feature waterfront views and are, again, within walking distance to many of these things that we've just talked about. This is a perfect area for those who value a sense of history, prioritize walkability, and want to be able to access some of the amenities by foot as opposed to having to jump in the car. Area number two of Blaine that we're going to talk a little bit about is the quintessential beach town of Birch Bay. Now, this is an area that is more popular in the summer and a little bit more sleepy in the winter months, but beautiful all the same. Birch Bay is a large bay that is very shallow. We get these extreme tides where the water will recede phenomenal distances, and it's a great area, especially again in the summertime, to take kids, to take your pup, and get out on the beach for some activities. There's all sorts of things to do in this area. Now, seasonally appropriate, of course, includes things like crabbing, digging for clams, building sandcastles, flying a kite. Again, this is more of your quintessential beach town. It's known for its laid-back atmosphere as well as for its recreational opportunities. You have Birch Bay State Park. This is a phenomenal state park for camping and recreation that you can enjoy while you're in the area. And it gives you all sorts of opportunities to get out on the water for things like kayaking, paddleboarding, what have you, just immediately off the beach. The mix of homes in this area, it's a bit eclectic, so there's a combination of vacation homes as well as permanent residences, and there are some newer developments that are going up in this area. This does, again, tend to be more heavily trafficked in the summer months when the sun is shining and people are wanting to enjoy those quintessential beach activities, but there are a variety of folks who live there year-round as well. You've got phenomenal bay views throughout much of the community, and there is a tremendous path, trail, whatever you want to call it, that runs basically all the way along the bay. In some areas paved, in some areas gravel, but great for getting out, for walking, for running, for biking, all that good stuff. This is a great area for families as well as retirees who, again, are searching for more of a relaxed, beachy environment. Last on our list is the Semiahmoo area. Now, this is an area that is near and dear to my heart because when I was some odd 18, 19 years old, I started working at Semiahmoo Resort, and I was there for 4 years, working in the hospitality industry there at the resort. And so the Semiahmoo area is very unique to Blaine. It feels like you're off the beaten path, although you, again, are just maybe 15 some odd minutes from getting back to the core Blaine area, getting back to Peace Arch Crossing, but it feels remote and removed, and depending on where a home is located in that community, can feel very private and very quiet. So the Semiahmoo area is known for a couple different things. Number one, the resort that I already mentioned. It's a 200-room resort out at the end of a mile-long peninsula. It looks across the water at White Rock, BC, much as does that park that I mentioned earlier over by the Blaine Marina. It's got a pool that's open year-round, a fitness facility, a spa. They've got pickleball courts and tennis courts. There's a ton of opportunities for recreation and membership there at the resort itself for people who live in the community, or if you're just visiting, that's a great spot to stay while you're in the area. Just up the road, about 1.5 miles, gets you to the Semiahmoo Golf Course. Now, this is an Arnold Palmer designed course. It's one of probably the fewest rounds of a Palmer designed course anywhere in the States. They take phenomenal care of this property. It's playable year round. It's a tremendous golf course. And then immediately around the golf course, you have the gated community of Semiahmoo. These typically are high-end homes. Again, within this gated community, they're offering you tremendous privacy, tremendous peace and quiet that's here in this area. There are some townhouses, there are some condos, but this is more resort-style living. I would say that this area particularly appeals to working professionals as well as retirees and those who are looking for a slightly more luxurious lifestyle with access to great amenities. So regardless of where you are, if you're going to spend time in Blaine, I encourage you to explore all three of these areas. You might listen to these descriptions and think, well, you know, particularly Birch Bay is going to resonate, or maybe Semiahmoo is going to resonate. But as people explore these different areas, I think they're often surprised at how they find they are attracted to things that are slightly different than they may have expected based on description. So Blaine is, in the grand scheme of things, not a big place. If you're going to be in the area for a day or two, there's plenty of time for you to see all these areas. If you're really wanting to explore, well, then of course, be best to plan for a weekend, if not a multiple day stay. All right, so next we're going to spend just a moment talking about lifestyle and amenities. Now, as I've already alluded to, you probably already gotten the vibe. So Blaine is known for, you know, of course, having two different marinas. You've got the Semiahmoo Marina as well as the Blaine Marina. So if you're interested in boating, if you're interested in being out on the water, there's two great marinas, full-service marinas that are available to you here immediately in this area. Now, golf is another thing that I mentioned. We just talked about the Semiahmoo Golf Course. There is also the Loomis Trail Golf Course located in Blaine. At one point in time, this was actually a second course that was owned by Semiahmoo. It's a long story, but at this point has separate ownership. So Semiahmoo is a private member-based only course versus Loomis Trail is a public course. So depending on your preferences for membership versus not, there are a couple great golf courses immediately in the Blaine area and many more that are just down the road as you head closer to Bellingham. Other activities, again, being out on the water, whether that's kayaking, paddleboarding, fishing, crabbing, clamming. There's a lot of great things that you can do, just even simply taking walks or runs on or alongside the beach. Lots of bird watching that goes on in this area, just a lot of opportunities to be out and enjoying nature. There's a variety of parks throughout Blaine as you head Further south towards, for example, the Birch Bay State Park. Even a little bit below that is an area called Point Whitehorn. There's a fantastic trail that our family enjoys. It's not very long, maybe a mile each direction, but you take a trail that kind of winds through the woods with a variety of these wood bridges that you cross, and that leads you to a beach that you can access. It's a great spot for going and, exploring, beachcombing, throwing rocks, letting the kids tear the place up. So lots to do just even immediately in the Blaine area, but of course you are going to have proximity to Bellingham as well as to Mount Baker. So if you're into skiing and snowboarding, if you're into mountain biking, if you're wanting to enjoy other types of recreation, well, there's a lot of things that are within about a 30-minute to perhaps hour and a half drive if you're going up towards Baker for other recreational opportunities as well. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you can keep up on all the content that we're releasing about Blaine, about Bellingham, about Whatcom County, and all the great things that are going on here in this area. My name is Jeff Engen. I'm with MJB Real Estate Group here in Bellingham, and every day we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you. We're considering a move to this area, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking about moving tomorrow, 10 months from now, sometime in between, we encourage you to reach out. You can find all of our contact information below, and we are standing by and ready to help you in any way that we can. I also want to encourage you to download our completely free, no strings attached relocation guide to help you continue to explore and consider this area and learn if it might be the right spot for you. But for now, let's get back to talking about Blaine. Now, as you might imagine, with this population size hovering right around 6,000 people, your options for nightlife and entertainment are going to be somewhat limited compared to if you were to head north up to Canada, if you were to head south down to Bellingham, or even perhaps further south down to the Seattle area. But at the time of recording this video, there's more than 35 restaurants in Blaine. There's a variety of coffee shops, bars, there's Beach Cat Brewing down in Birch Bay. So there are a variety of things for you to do, particularly when it comes to dining, and there are opportunities for live music at some of these venues, like I mentioned, Beach Cat Brewing, the Vault Wine Bar, that are happening and being hosted on a regular basis. What I will say about Blaine is that it kind of continues to be this up and coming area. I think that there was a lot of progress being made in Blaine up until 2020 when COVID hit. It closed the border and had a substantial impact on the area and some of the growth that was unfolding at that time. I think post-COVID, things have continued to improve. There's more commerce, there's more opportunity. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Blaine, both at present and on the horizon. So opportunities for nightlife and entertainment will only continue to improve, but do know that they are a bit limited compared to other parts of the county and particularly other parts of the region. Next, I'm going to hit you with just a handful of the challenges that you might encounter living in a place like Blaine. Now, again, a lot of this stems from what we just talked about, kind of this small town, small population that contributes to, again, the lack of access to things like nightlife and entertainment. Another one that would be important for you to take note of is access to medical and dental. So there are some physicians and dentists who practice immediately in the Blaine area, but if you're looking particularly for emergency medical care or specialized medical care, well, then you can all but guarantee that you're going to be traveling at a minimum to Bellingham and perhaps beyond. Another thing that people talk about as far as a challenge that's not really specific to Blaine, but just specific to the Pacific Northwest and Whatcom County in general, is the weather. So depending on what you're accustomed to, if you live in Southern California, if you live in Colorado and you're used to seeing the sun more than 300 days out of the year, well, bad news. We are not on that same program here in this area. We do have a lot of gray overcast days. We do get a regular accumulation of rain. We have particularly short days in the winter months in terms of hours of sunlight in the day. So that's another challenge people experience here in the area. Now, if you're thinking about purchasing a vacation property or a second home in this area and you're going to spend the summer months here and the winter months somewhere else, well, then I would say this is a phenomenal place to do that because the weather and the beauty and all of the outdoor opportunity that abounds in the summer months is incredible. So if you're splitting time, this is a fantastic place to do that. Last but not least, in terms of challenges of life in Blaine, is going to be border town traffic. Now, on occasion with large events or backups at the border, people will decide to divert from just sitting in traffic for a long period of time and maybe head into the downtown Blaine area to wait it out. So you can have unexpected slowdowns in travel times, both heading into and coming from Canada, but you can also experience an influx of activity that perhaps on occasion exceeds really the capacity of the town based on some of these long border waits. Last but not least, I want to talk really briefly about the median home sales price in the Blaine area versus someplace like Bellingham, or even perhaps just across the water in White Rock, British Columbia. So I want to start by letting you know data that I've pulled is from Redfin. You can check this out if you'd like, and you can get in the weeds a little bit. So you can identify Blaine versus Birch Bay versus looking at the Semiahmoo area, and you are going to see a disparity in pricing across these three different neighborhoods that we've talked about, these three different communities within Blaine. But overarching, all in, all properties in Blaine, the median sales price, the time recording this video, December of 2024, is around $590,000. Now, if we compare that to Bellingham, we've got a median sales price, again, this time of year, December 2024, at $690,000. So you're going to see that your money is going to go quite a bit further in the Blaine market as compared to Bellingham. I pulled the numbers for White Rock just as a frame of reference. We get a lot of calls from Canadians who are thinking about buying investment properties or potentially relocating to the States. The median sales price in White Rock, which again is just across the water from Blaine, is $1,188,000. So compare and contrast, you can see there's a huge savings. That's not taking into consideration, of course, the exchange rate, which does, of course, impact pricing as well. But those are the numbers at this time, December 2024. You can see that your dollar does go a bit further in Blaine than it does certainly in Bellingham and perhaps other parts of Whatcom County as well. So there you have it, a brief recap on Blaine, Washington. Now, I would be curious to know if you've been to the area before. Does what I've shared here today track with your experience? If you're researching from a distance but you've not yet been to the area in person, does this align with the information that you're finding online? Would love for you to comment below and let me know. Hey, as always, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it has been helpful and informative to you. I want to encourage you one last time to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you can keep up on all the content that we're releasing about Blaine, Bellingham, and Whatcom County. And I want to remind you one last time to download that free relocation guide to help you continue to explore this area and if it might be right for you. But again, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.